Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee. I talk about books on this channel, mainly books about magic, and if you're interested in that, you can hit the subscribe button down below. I talk about a lot of other things, so maybe I should stop saying that, but it's a lot of magic around here. But anyway, today we are going to be talking about the books that my indie booksellers have recommended to me. So happy Independent Bookstore Day, and I am celebrating by telling you about a few books that my local indie has recommended to me. I am very fortunate that I have a couple of indie bookstores close to me and I love to visit them. One is super special to me and I love them to bits, and it is also, they've only been in my area for a short time, but they have introduced me to so many wonderful books. I'm not going to tell you exactly who they are because I don't want to tell you where I live, but just know that they are fantastic. And I just wanted to show you a few of the books they have recommended me over the past couple of years since I've been going there, and I thought that would be a fun way to celebrate them and also just put it in your mind to support your indie bookstores if you can. I am lucky enough that mine holds lots of events that are not just book related. They're often book adjacent, but they have community events, they have journaling nights, they have book clubs. There's so much to do at an indie bookstore, and I highly recommend putting yourself out there to go if you can and if you have the opportunity, because it has been something that I have been nervous about, but I have always been welcomed so warmly, and I just appreciate that about them so much. So let's talk about books. We're gonna hold off on the feelings and we're gonna jump into the books that they have recommended me that have been fantastic. So I wanted to start with the book that they recommended me that was my first 5-star, first book that I had purchased there. But I have two because I can't exactly remember which one was first and which one was solely responsible for them. Their responsibility. However you want to say it. So I have Yerba Buena here by Nina LaCour, which I know I probably would have ended up trying at some point, but it would not have been as soon as I did because a friend of mine loves Nina LaCour. But I read this almost as soon as it came out because it was a book club pick for the bookstore, and in this we are following two women who have a connection when they meet, but their circumstances tear them apart and they have to kind of figure their own lives out. And then when they meet, I believe they meet a few more times, and each time they kind of strengthen that connection until they have to figure out how they want to move forward. And I remember loving this book. I gave it 5 stars, I think. I just had the best time reading this, and I remember thinking that they had picked this and I was nervous about it because it was Nina LaCour's first foray into adult. And I'm really hoping that there will be more because this was just so excellent, and I remember having a good book club discussion about it, but I don't remember a lot of details because it's been 2 years. And then the other one that I have as one of my first purchases at my indie was A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. So I don't think they're necessarily the reason that I picked it up because I remember other of my friends talking about this, but I picked it up from them and it was one of the first books that I purchased from them that was a 5-star. And this is a historical romance between trans woman Viola and Justin, who is someone that Viola knows from her previous life. She is presumed dead on a battlefield, and she takes this opportunity to go home and start over and live as she wants to. Therefore, she has left family and friends and her wealth behind. And when her and Justin meet, even though they knew each other previously, Justin doesn't recognize her. And while she is trying to pull away to keep herself safe and keep her identity under wraps, Justin is pursuing her, and it's a wonderful romance. I absolutely loved it. It is a bit chunky because I think it's close to 500 pages, but it is also really, really good, and I absolutely loved it. One of the things I love about my bookstore is that they recommend historical romances of all kinds, more traditional ones as well as more modern ones, and there is just a huge variety there, and I love that they seek those out and put them on their shelves because it makes me loving historical romance so much more fun to dive into. Next up is one that was outside of my comfort zone, but I may have read eventually, and that is They Never Learn by Lynn Fargo. This is the story of a professor, and she kills the worst man on campus every year where she teaches. And this year she has messed up, and there is an investigation that's going a bit deeper than she would like. We're also following Carly, who is a student at the school where the professor teaches, and she is just trying to find her footing because she's lived kind of a sheltered life, and she forms a really intense relationship with her roommate. But when things go wrong for her roommate, she also has to try and figure out her life there. I really enjoyed this one, had a great time with it, and the twists and turns of it really got me. So I absolutely loved this, and I'm so glad I was recommended this over and over by the booksellers. Next up is one that I have written down as like highest rated, and I think I was trying to make this a larger category but sort of shifted the focus of the video. So this is one that has stuck with me, that I absolutely loved reading and really took me by surprise that I loved it as much as I did, and that was Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. This was one that I wanted to read so badly, and I had picked this up, and then I was immersion reading it because I got the audiobook, and the illustrations in here and following along really helped me because there's dual timelines in this. We're following both a girls' school in like the early 1900s, 1902, where two best friends die after a wasp attack, and after a few months the school is then shut down. But then we're also following a modern timeline of a production crew that is there to film a modern adaptation of that story of what happened to the girls, and we're exploring the grounds of this school and what actually happened, and it's so interesting. It's so twisty turny and absolutely just wild read. I loved it so much, and I really am glad I picked this up because the illustrations are cool, and I'm just glad they kept talking about it and wanted people to read it because I definitely enjoyed reading it. So I really am appreciative that they pushed it. Another book club read that I enjoyed, but I have put in the category of I never would have read without book club, is Ready or Not by Cara Bass-Stone. This is a contemporary romance, and the taglines or the tropes that were included were pregnancy and a love triangle, and those two things do not jive with me. They're not things that I typically enjoy or even want to read about. They will actually be turn-offs for me. But I decided to trust the process, and I got this book for book club, and I had a great time. I actually really enjoyed this and had a really good time reading it. I had a few tabs even, and this was a really great discussion again at book club. And you know, overall I think I gave this a 4-star. It was just a fun time, and it really surprised me that I loved it as much as I did, because I never ever would have picked this up for myself if I had just read the description. On the opposite end of our first prompt is my most recent 5-star book that I have purchased at my bookstore, and that is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I didn't even know this was coming out. I didn't know anything about it, but I went to the bookstore and saw the pretty sprayed edges, and one of the bookstore owners really sold me on it. She absolutely hyped it up and told me that I should check it out. I told her I wasn't really into romantasy, and she said it's a good balance between politics and fantasy, romantasy, and she was right, and it worked absolutely beautifully for me. Can't wait to read this. It was a 5-star. I flew through it. I couldn't put it down the night I brought it home. It's like Viking inspired, and has a lot of like mythology in it. Such a fun time, such a good read, and I just absolutely loved it, and it wasn't even on my radar when I went to the bookstore that night. So those are like 6 books that my independent bookstore has influenced me to buy in some way, shape, or form, and that I have absolutely loved. So I definitely wanted to show them off to you. And then I have 3 that I have purchased fairly recently that I either didn't know a lot about or were in a subscription that I got from them that I'm really excited to try. So the first is Masters of Death by Olivia Blake, and this is her latest release. I don't know a ton about it. It has something to do with vampires, and it has dark academia vibes, and the inside cover was stunning, so this was something I picked up on a whim, but it was on a table right inside the door, and that's just good product placement, so that's a reason to read it. This one I think is Dolly Parton mixed with Evelyn Hugo, as well as some Taylor Swift vibes. This is Every Time You Hear That Song by Jenna Voris, and I am super excited to read this. I was so thrilled that they had this, and I can't wait to read it. I might have to read this next because it's just one that I have had on my radar. In this, we're following a young journalist who is trying to unravel some clues that a famous country singer left in a time capsule for reveal after her death, and I believe she's following them across the country on a road trip, and it just sounds great. And it's supposed to be a queer coming of age story, and I first heard about this when I picked up another book and they gave me a bookmark about this book, and then I looked into it and I was super excited. So I can't wait to read this, and another influence. And then the last one is one that was in a subscription that I got from them, and it is The Other Side of Disappearing by Kate Clayborn. I think I've heard of Kate Clayborn, but I didn't know what was coming in the subscription, and this is one that has really grabbed my attention. I'm trying to read the book club picks first, and then I definitely want to get to this because it sounds so interesting. It has a podcast element, which is always kind of a buzzword for me, and I'm just feeling the romance apparently. But I've been reading a lot of fantasy like in the past couple of months, and things that I like had to read, so I'm kind of leaning into the romancy quick reads right now. So this is something I am excited to check out. But those are a bunch of books that I have read because of my indie bookstore, or I want to read because of them. And I just wanted to kind of throw it out into the universe that I appreciate them today because they have been around for a few years now and I don't want them to go anywhere. But if you have the opportunity or the means or the time to support your local indie, they will definitely appreciate you. And I definitely recommend seeing what kind of local indies you have. But that is it for me today. If you have any thoughts or feelings or want to share something with me about your local indie, please let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!